A man walks into a snowstorm, his parka zipped tight, goggles fogging, boots crunching into freshly fallen snow. The sky is dark, the wind howls like some ancient beast, and visibility is near zero. He carries no equipment, no supplies, just a calm, steady pace as if he knows exactly where he's going. He never comes back. This isn't a story from fiction. It's real, and it happened in one of the most unforgiving places on Earth. Greenland, vast, empty, frozen beyond comprehension. A land where time seems to stand still, and where nature swallows evidence whole. In the winter of 1981, at a remote weather monitoring station known as Ice Core Camp 9, located more than 500 miles inland from any coast, a man named Dr. Elias Krohn vanished. He was a glaciologist, 33 years old, Norwegian-American, brilliant and well-liked. And his last act on Earth, as recorded by the only working exterior camera that morning, was to calmly walk into a blizzard without a word. No note, no goodbye, no reason. What followed was a frantic, desperate, and ultimately fruitless search across an endless expanse of white. No body, no gear, not even a torn glove, just a single set of footprints leading straight into nothing. Theories have since swirled around like the snow that buried the trail. Suicide, accident, mental collapse, even abduction. But none quite make sense. Today, more than 40 years later, the mystery of Elias Krohn continues to haunt those who were stationed with him and chills the spine of anyone who hears what really happened in those last days before he vanished. This is not just a disappearance, it's a warning about isolation, about obsession, about what happens when a brilliant mind stares too long into the abyss of silence. And in the cold, the abyss stares back. Ice Core Camp 9 is unlike any place on Earth. Located deep within the glacial belly of Greenland, the station is more than 500 miles from the nearest coast, an isolated outpost surrounded by an ocean of white. It operates for only 3 months a year. Just 6 scientists, 1 main cabin, 2 field huts, 4 snowmobiles, no backup, no evacuation unless absolutely critical. And for those 3 months, it's nothing but snow, wind, data, and silence. Dr. Elias Krohn, age 33, was the youngest among them. A brilliant glaciologist, half Norwegian, half American, recruited for his expertise in ancient ice cores, columns of frozen history, some dating back hundreds of thousands of years. At first, Elias fit in well. Quiet but good-humored, he laughed at dinner, played cards, and even kept a daily journal. He would often volunteer to do field work at the sensor outpost 600 meters away, connected by a guide rope for use in whiteouts. He never complained, not even in minus 50 degrees Celsius storms. But after 5 weeks, something changed. He became more withdrawn, spoke less, slept less, and on one occasion, the station chief Anders Nielsen reportedly overheard Elias whispering to the window, "It's there, watching me." No one understood. He laughed it off the next morning. 2 days later, Elias awoke at 5 a.m. He made coffee, suited up, and at 5:43 a.m., according to the only working exterior camera, he stepped outside into a growing blizzard. No hesitation, no checking the rope, no gear. He walked into the snow and vanished. By 6:30 a.m., the station noticed his absence. They expected him back within the hour, but he never returned. Station Chief Anders and 2 others followed the guide rope to the sensor outpost, thinking he may be stuck there. But the outpost was empty. Panic began to spread. Within an hour, a full search was underway. In temperatures nearing minus 48 degrees Celsius and wind speeds above 40 kilometers per hour, 2 snowmobiles fanned out along possible routes. Elias was an expert. If anyone could survive these conditions, it was him. But what they found raised more questions than answers. At 8:20 a.m., a single trail of footprints was discovered leading away from camp. Not toward the equipment, but in the opposite direction. Toward the ice cliffs, toward nowhere. The prints were deep, evenly spaced, and unwavering. No signs of hesitation, no erratic pacing. He wasn't lost. He was going somewhere, with purpose. The team followed the prints for nearly 2 miles until, abruptly, they stopped. No blood, no gear, no fall marks, just nothing. The trail ended at the edge of a shallow snowbank, as if he had simply dissolved into thin air. More searchers were deployed. They scanned every crevasse, used infrared drones, blasted flares into the white haze. Nothing. Not even a shred of his clothing. That night, no one at Ice Core Camp 9 spoke. The dining table sat full but silent. Something had walked Elias Krohn into the void and hadn't returned him. And everyone knew it wasn't just the cold. 1 week after Elias vanished, the team began packing up his workspace. They found something no one had expected, hidden behind the freezer unit in his lab, a small black notebook, Elias' personal journal. The first pages were filled with normal entries, ice core data, weather logs, sleep tracking. But starting on February 12th, the handwriting changed. It grew tight, jittery, disturbed. Last night, there were lights, not from our equipment, not from the sky. They hovered over the ice. No one believes me. February 14th. I hear a voice, not through ears, through pressure, through the wind. It calls to me. At first a whisper, now clear. February 21st. Final entry. It's beneath the ice. It's been waiting. And now, I'm going. The station chief assumed it was a case of polar winter psychosis, a real condition documented in long-term isolation scenarios. Symptoms include hallucinations, paranoia, and even suicidal ideation. But some things defied diagnosis. At 5:42 a.m., the moment Elias stepped out, the station's motion radar picked up anomalous movement near the West Ridge. But it wasn't human. It moved too fast, too low. 3 team members reported hearing whispering winds outside their windows, whispers in a language no one knew. And perhaps most disturbing of all, the camp dog, a sturdy husky named Fjord, trained for Arctic survival. The morning after Elias vanished, Fjord broke his leash, ran into the storm, and was never seen again. Rumors swirled. Suicide, a mental break, or something other. Elias had often spoken about a strange sensation beneath the ice, a humming, almost musical tone he claimed he could feel in his bones. Now with him gone, the tone seemed louder than ever. And Ice Core Camp 9, it was shut down the following spring, permanently. In the weeks following Elias' disappearance, Ice Core Camp 9 remained gripped by silence. Not the comforting kind, but a suffocating stillness that felt aware. No one spoke about Elias aloud, but everyone was thinking the same thing. It didn't make sense. Elias was not suicidal. His last recorded messages, emails to his sister and a colleague in Oslo, were filled with scientific enthusiasm and personal excitement. He spoke about coming home, about giving a lecture tour, about finishing his book, and yet he had vanished into the ice as if something had claimed him. Speculation began to spiral. Some believed Elias had suffered a breakdown and simply wandered too far. Others claimed he had fallen into an unseen crevasse, swallowed without a trace. But then, how could his footprints end so cleanly? No signs of a fall, no breaks in the pattern. One of the more chilling theories came from geophysicist Jonah Lee, who studied the ice's harmonic activity. He claimed that the journal Elias left behind, where he mentioned vibrations beneath the ice, might not have been metaphorical. Using archived seismic data, Jonah found irregular pulses in the region, centered just west of the outpost, exactly where Elias' trail disappeared. These weren't tectonic movements. They had rhythm, almost like breathing. Another theory emerged. Elias had followed something, perhaps the strange lights that he and others had mentioned in whispers. Maybe he had seen something the night before, something that led him into the storm, not with fear, but fascination. But fascination in a place like Greenland can be fatal. As the scientists were airlifted out weeks later, each one carried a different version of what happened. Some said it was a psychological collapse. Some believed it was nature doing what it does best, erasing. And a few wouldn't speak at all. 6 years passed. Then in January 1987, an encrypted message arrived via the Emergency Arctic Weather Transmission Band, an ancient shortwave protocol used only by polar research stations in distress. It read, "To those still listening, I am Elias Krohn. I did not die. I became something else. I walked where the cold breathes. I listened. And now I understand. They are not of this world, but they are older than it. I am not coming back. I couldn't even if I wanted to. The signal lasted only 12 seconds. It was broadcast from somewhere near the same coordinates where Elias had disappeared. Authorities dismissed it as a hoax, maybe a prankster with a ham radio. But cryptography experts noted that the transmission contained Elias's old encryption key, one only he and his colleagues had known. Then there was the voice, choppy, distant, but undeniably his. When played back and cleaned with digital software, listeners described the voice as filled with peace and something else, something not quite human, like he wasn't alone when he spoke. The station that picked up the message, Camp Farah, 400 miles away, reported technical failures for days afterward. Radios emitted strange static patterns, and temperature sensors logged abrupt microspikes, brief jumps in temperature, as if something had moved beneath the surface. Scientists speculated, was Elias alive, hidden in a geothermal cavern? Was the voice synthesized, or, more disturbingly, had he become a vessel for something else entirely? It's worth noting that no further messages ever came. Just one impossible voice from the void. Over the years, new expeditions have passed near the site where Elias disappeared. Some leave tokens, photos, flags, handwritten notes like offerings. None have found anything. But everyone who stops there says the same thing. The air is different, heavy, still, like the land remembers. Psychologists have written papers on the Elias phenomenon, a case study of extreme isolation, hallucination, and perhaps psychosis. Others frame it as an example of how even the most rational minds can unravel in nature's grasp. But some of us believe there's more. There's something about the finality of Elias' last steps. They weren't erratic. He wasn't panicked. He walked with clarity, with decision, and maybe with purpose. The idea that he was called may sound absurd, but it echoes tales from other frozen regions, Inuit legends of the Kalupalik, beings beneath the ice who lure travelers, or ancient Norse stories of men who vanished into the glacier, chosen by the frost. Could Elias have heard something we weren't meant to? Could he have been the first to answer? A call that others have ignored? In 1991, a new research team returned to Ice Core Camp 9 to conduct climate tests. They stayed only 2 weeks. The lead scientist, Dr. Mina Vartanen, left this in her report. We saw no evidence of wildlife, no equipment failures, no unusual readings. But at night we heard footsteps outside, slow, heavy, and when we checked the snow, there were no prints. Today the camp remains abandoned. The blizzards have long since buried the old equipment, the footprints, the stories. But some say, on a still night when the wind dies, you can hear the crunch of boots in the snow. Not approaching, not leaving, just pacing. And somewhere, deep beneath the ice, a brilliant mind may still be listening, waiting, or watching. We may never know why Elias Krohn walked into the white, but we do know this. The cold keeps secrets, and some footprints are never meant to be followed.